here we are back in Blister HQ for another round of reviewing the reviewer. And our guest today is David Golay, who is in from Seattle. Now, fun fact to preface this episode, there's apparently like a kid's birthday party taking place upstairs above Blister HQ. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear that in the audio, but we can tell you it sounds like those kids are having an amazing time and also possibly playing with jackhammers. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm concerned about one of them falling through the ceiling in a minute.
Yeah, at some point, stay tuned because we might have a child crash through the ceiling onto this table. We will see, but added level of interest here. But that said, David, we're happy to have you in from Seattle, and I think you know how this works. This is a big deal, probably the most important test of your life.
Most likely, yeah.
You are going to be graded on your answers, and using my best judgment and wealth of discernment, we'll be scoring these answers, and we'll figure out. Ultimately, we'll be grading your personhood. That's really what we're after here.
Right.
So let's go ahead and talk about your background.
Yeah, cool. So I grew up in Ithaca, New York, and started mostly what I did first for athletic stuff when I was a kid was I played hockey, starting when I was, I think, in first grade, so when I was tiny, and then started skiing a few years after that and kind of traded back and forth between skiing and hockey certainly through elementary school and into middle school. At some point in there, hockey kind of started to become a little bit too demanding to do both, and skiing fell by the wayside for a little while. At that point, I was mostly playing hockey in the winter, and also around then picked up mountain biking as a summer pursuit. Mm-hmm. So started mountain biking in sometime early in middle school, and have been doing that pretty much ever since. And then hurt my shoulder, kind of tried to play through it for a season or two of hockey, but it really wasn't working out, and quit hockey, I think, after my sophomore year of high school, at which point I started skiing quite a bit more again. And it's skiing and mountain biking have kind of been the two big hobbies of mine, I guess, since then.
Yeah. Fun fact, my father went to Ithaca College.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah.
That's all I got, really, but.
That's my hometown.
Okay. And then you were in Ithaca till when?
Through high school.
Okay.
And then after that, I moved to Southern California to go to college. I went to Harvey Mudd and studied mechanical engineering there. Spent a little while in Australia after college, working some random jobs there, and then moved to Seattle about 7 years ago, and have been there since. And then sort of jumped on board at Blister earlier this year.
Yeah. I'm actually concerned now that the children upstairs are like making their way down to murder us. That's kind of what it sounds like now. We might need to just scrap this and just go join the party because, like, again...
At least we have skis to arm ourselves or something if the hordes invade.
I can't tell if they're having a ton of fun or becoming more violent or both. But
that may not be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. You said you worked some random jobs. This was in Australia?
Yeah.
How random?
So I ran a microscope at a research lab doing material science research for a bit. That was the main thing I did over there.
What were you microscoping?
It was like fine scale grain structure of some complicated metal alloys, trying to figure out their properties better. What the research that was being done was trying to figure out how to develop high entropy alloys, which are like a normal aluminum alloy, say, is upwards of 95% aluminum with just small amounts of other stuff in it in order to alter its mechanical properties. And what this research was trying to do like 5, 6, 7 elements in something approaching equal amounts of all of them. And so they're just much more complicated alloys that haven't really been commercialized very much yet, and trying to figure out how to make those work.
I am all for science, but that job sounds kind of boring. True or false?
Medium boring, but it was a good excuse to be in Australia for a while and enjoy that. So
Yeah. How many hours a day were you just staring into a microscope where I'm guessing like not a whole lot was happening?
so it was a combination of like staring into the microscope, like you said, and uh, doing sample prep of cutting up and grinding bits of metal and polishing them to do that and so on. But I was doing that like pretty much a full time job.
Let's try to earn you back some points because you're working on a slight deduction at the moment. What was your best story from that time in Australia?
Ooh, okay, that's pretty good. Um, so I at the end of the time there, I rented a camper van with a friend, and we spent about a month driving around the country and exploring. And about we planned the whole thing and booked the van reservation and a variety of stuff like that. Well, at a bar, drinking a fair bit, as one does, and the friend I was going with insisted that she could drive a manual transmission. So we booked the cheaper manual transmission van. I then proceeded to break my foot playing soccer about a week before we embarked on this trip. And then at that point, she was like, "Oh yeah, I probably can't really drive a manual very well." So I got to do all the driving in a manual with a broken foot.
I don't. That's your best story though,
Uh,
or are you doing the whole like? Well, there's certain things I can't really tell you.
it's the best one that I still remember. How's that?
Okay, fair enough. All right, that whole background, we're gonna give you a 7.
I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah. How did you first get connected with Blister?
Yeah, so I've been reading Blister for a while, mostly on the ski side, and then you guys put out an ad looking for someone to work on the bike side of things this spring, and I applied for that, and here we are.
And here we are. We were mountain biking today.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Something approximating mountain biking, I guess.
It was like snowshoeing slash kind of mountain biking slash survival skiing.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
all of the above.
Yeah, was that now that actually was definitely the most snow I personally have ever mountain biked in.
Yeah.
You though?
No. It is like probably about the most snow that I have like semi-successfully mountain biked in. It was sort of, because it's at the border of like what you could ride a bike through.
Yeah.
I have tried to ride a mountain bike through a lot more snow than that, but it didn't go well.
Okay. Yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also learned today, I found the real weakness of clipless pedals today. Since I was the one of the three of us who was attempting to clip in, but there was not so much clipping in, it turns out.
You will note that in the clipless pedal roundup we did a while ago, I said specifically that I ride flats in the winter because it sucks. You did not read that or listen to my advice there.
I actually did read that, but I don't even think I currently own a pair of flats. Now, granted, okay, there are another pair of flats here in Blister HQ, but
Yeah, there's a pair on the floor right over there, man.
there's a pair on the floor, but I've learned my lesson. All right, okay, that was a pretty good story. We're gonna go 7 again. All right, let's talk about some gear preferences, bike preferences, things that you personally are into or look for in a bike or when it comes to components.
Yeah. Some general stuff when looking at bikes, and part of this is driven by the fact that I live in Seattle, and most of the riding that I do around there tends to be pretty mellow fire road kinds of climbs and then quite steep fall line descents. But for me, living there, that really makes me pretty into sort of the modern trend of long reaches, slack head angles, steep seat tubes. All of that stuff works really well for the kind of riding that I mostly do around Seattle, and maybe makes a little less sense if you're on more rolling stuff generally, but that's just not what my terrain is, and so that's a big one. As I'm picky about tires, Maxxis probably makes the biggest line of things that I like a lot of. There are definitely other tires out there that I like quite a bit as well. It's not like it's exclusively Maxxis, but they're sort of have the most dialed range, I guess. Tend to like Shimano drivetrains quite a bit, and the SB130 that I was riding today has the new XT12 speed stuff on it that obviously wasn't a very comprehensive test today, but
we did get to test the full blown POW performance of the XT 1x12.
Yeah, it did
right?
great, so that was cool.
Yeah, a lot of POW testing today. Yeah, a lot of POW testing today.
Yeah.
Anything else on the components or
Bonus stuff. I am. One of the things I'm weirdly picky about, I guess, is handlebar sweep and rise position, like specifically sweep. Tend to like things that are relatively, I guess, less sweep. Especially, I was sort of surprised that I got on that Yeti and wasn't immediately annoyed by the handlebar, because I do have that reaction on a lot of bikes. But I don't know what the numbers are on that. It's a Yeti branded bar that I don't have off the top of my head, but that actually worked pretty well for me, which was a pleasant surprise, I guess.
Nice. That's their POW handlebar. That yeah, it's specifically designed for deep snow performance. So that's why you like that bar so much today.
Might have been it, yeah.
Okay, so those are some of your preferences. Anything that you particularly strongly dislike when it comes to components or geo or whatever?
Yeah. Two slack C2 mangles are one of the first ways to make a bike really annoy me. That one's easy. Press fit bottom brackets are a pain in the ass, and there's no particular advantage to them from the user standpoint. Arguably, they're a little easier to manufacture, but that's not my problem. And once the bike's in my hand, I don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
Internal routing, I'm mostly also in the camp of it's just annoying, and I don't really care about the cosmetics that much. So that's another one that I'd rather have the simpler, easier to work on thing than try to make it look pretty. Ongoing proliferation of new random axle standards and all of that kind of stuff in the bike world is irritating, and none of it, to my mind, has really very greatly improved anything. It's just made stuff different and incompatible, and would have been great if we'd stuck with 142 rear ends and 20 millimeter through axles and never thought about it again.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer, actually. I'm gonna give you an 8.5 on that one.
Excellent.
Okay, next question, and also kind of a fun fact. I understand that recently you met someone who I think we've now twice named our favorite person to talk to at SIA, and who also was the very first guest ever on a Blister podcast. Do you care to tell this story?
Yeah. So Jonathan's referring to Jed Yeiser of K2 Skis. And Jed and I met on a mountain bike ride a couple weeks ago. A friend of ours organized this group ride, just invited both of us separately. I had no idea that Jed was coming, and actually didn't realize that the guy who was there was Jed until he recognized me from my bike, the Nikolai G16 that I reviewed on Blister. And it's like, wait a second, aren't you the new Blister bike guy? And we kind of put it all together from there.
Did you know that your friend also was friends with Jed?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, so this was totally out of the blue.
Fully surprised.
At what point did Jed recognize the bike, like before the actual ride?
Yeah, it was just like, well, we were sitting in the parking lot,
Yeah.
getting ready to go. We hadn't even started moving yet.
Okay.
Pretty immediate.
Any other? Well, I know of one.
Yeah.
But before we get to the grand finale, anything? Let's look. Fair is fair. Let's review Jed as a rider.
Jed's a pretty good rider.
Okay.
We were riding kind of what I think is the set of trails closest to Seattle that Jed and I both ride most often. We're, I guess, not on the same schedule because I've never seen him out there, but like clearly trails that we both know well and ride a lot. He's just very good, strong technical rider and a lot of fun to ride with. It's good.
Well, that's good because I hear he can't really ski at all. So I'm glad he makes up for it on a bike.
Yeah, and then the finale to the whole ride that Jonathan's alluding to is that at the very...
Please don't leave out any details. It will reflect in your score because I love this story.
Yeah, so the ride in question ends, and at the end of the parking lot, there's a set of Jersey barriers, and then there's a sort of bunch of dirt piled up on the trail side of it, so that you can just huck the Jersey barriers into the parking lot, basically. And we're done with the ride; it's over. And Jed does the little Jersey barrier jump into the parking lot and just completely explodes his rear shock. I was right behind him when he did it too, so I had the absolute perfect vantage point of the whole thing. And when he landed, somehow the entire compression assembly just stripped out of his shock body, launched across the parking lot, like pinged off a parked car that was over there with the guy standing next to the car. Huge geyser of oil out of the shock body, and then the shock was done. And he kind of just looked down and went, well, what the hell just happened there? And
So the reaction was this kind of our fairly typical, I think, kind of calm, cool, collected Jed response, or did he kind of lose it, or what was the?
he he was mostly pretty calm and collected about it, but was just almost seemed more befuddled than anything that this could have possibly happened, and that it happened there. It was for sure not the hardest that he had hit the rear wheel on that ride. Like, he'd done bigger stuff, and somehow that was the proverbial straw, I guess. But
That's pretty good. I'm giving you a 10 for that story, mostly because it involved Jed blowing things up. So that's good. You also are currently walking with a serious limp.
yeah,
What is going on? You look like kind of, I don't know, like Lurch from the Addams Family or something.
man, that's brutal. Well, so yeah, I'm recovering still from a tibial plateau fracture that I suffered in the beginning of April. In short, basically tomahawked down a Cliff Bandit crystal, and it didn't end particularly well. So out of all that, got 4 plates, and I think it's 22 screws to put my tibia back together, and it's right at the top of the tibia where it forms the lower half of the knee joint, so that getting all the soft tissue in the knee joint back to where it ought to be, and my knee working right again is still a work in progress.
Yeah, you ripped stuff up pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't treat it very well.
Yeah. I'm starting to know way too many people in my life who ride bikes far better than they walk. Like, this is a disturbing trend, but
yeah, I'm certainly in that camp right now.
yeah. Well, we hope that you continue to heal up on
Thanks.
that.
It's making good progress. I'm getting there.
Okay, well, we're going to give you an 8 for your limp explanation. And are you going to be skiing? Like, you expected to be skiing soonish here, or?
Yes, probably another couple months out, but I fully expect to be skiing this season.
Slightly random question for you, I guess, but who is your favorite reviewer at Blister?
Well, before today, I probably would have said Luke, but after his ride selection today, that cost him some demerits. So, in light of that, I'm probably going to have to go with Noah. He writes really well. His reviews are on point and funny, and he's been good to work with. So
Yeah. Man, he's getting way too many props in this series though. And like, let's be honest. I mean, you were reading my reviews for before you started doing this.
this is true.
So I'm only doing this because I'm, feeling like, I'm just feeling self-conscious that we all talk about our deep love of Noah. So I'm just scraping for points.
Well, okay. So what I will say, to your credit, is that of the Blister ski reviewers, you are, I think, the one whose reviews work best for me, largely in that we have, I think, more similar ski preferences than I do with, say, Luke, or sure as hell with Sam. So, yeah, your ski reviews are kind of the ones for me that are most straightforward and require the least translation to think through, okay, he's saying this about it, but we think about things differently, yada.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely giving you a 10 for that answer after I absolutely made you say that it was Noah and me. So, yeah, that's how you earn a 10 around here. Who is your favorite mountain biker and or skier?
Okay. Favorite mountain biker. it's gonna be one of like the mountain biking sort of that I watch the most of is for sure the World Cup downhill circuit, and the competition's been really good, and there are a whole bunch of guys and women who are a ton of fun to watch there. So picking exactly one's hard. Danny Hart is super fun to watch, and his Champere World Champs run from whatever that was is still just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen someone do on a bike. This year, the battle between Amory and Loic was amazing, and have a ton of respect for both of those guys, and they're both a lot of fun to watch.
But I almost feel like people have to, they're both amazing, clearly, right?
Right.
But I still feel like it's a little bit Coke and Pepsi, or it's actually, that's a bad analogy, because they're not the same.
No, not even close.
Right. So what I'm trying to say is I think, one, it's crazy if we don't have utmost respect for both. And yet I also feel like people, from a style point of view or the rest, probably are going to go to one camp or the other.
If I had to pick, I'm going with Loic. His bike control and how absolutely precise he looks all the time is unreal. And it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Okay. Do you happen to have a favorite skier?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. To loop back to that. Favorite skier, I think I'm giving to Angel Collinson. She's just skis some unbelievably huge, gnarly lines, and the way she sort of combines doing them really, really goddamn fast and then also just linking things together in very creative ways is super cool and a lot of fun to watch.
That's also how you get a 10 from me for an answer, so that's another 10. I think you're probably coming in first place in these reviewing the reviewer things. What's the stupidest thing you've ever done?
It might be the tibial plateau fracture that we just talked about. I mean, certainly it's by far the worst injury I've suffered, and I guess I sort of bounce back and forth on thinking whether, like, how much it was stupid versus unlucky things happen. But there was definitely an element to, I put myself in a situation that I probably wouldn't have if I had thought harder about the prevailing snowpack and suffered for it. So,
okay.
And especially given that that's kind of made for a pretty rough year for me, that's certainly the thing I'm feeling worst about right now.
Well, I feel like I should give you a high score because I feel bad for you for your year, but it really wasn't a very funny story. So
it's not a great story.
I'm really only giving it a 3, and
I'll take that. I'll accept it.
I mean, I put a throwing star in an electric sock.
Yeah, so, no, your story was way better than mine.
I definitely.
I don't pretend to compete with that.
Yeah, I've done some really stupid things. What are you better at than Sam Shaheen?
Boy, where to start? Well, I think presumably mountain biking. I haven't mountain biked with Sam Shaheen, but I feel pretty safe in that assessment.
I am going to say, because I did just ride bikes with Sam in Moab, Sam did great. So I don't doubt that you're better, but I just have to, and this pains me, but, Sam really did really well for,
awesome.
Barely having...
Well, right, because didn't you say that he hadn't been on one in a couple of years at that point?
Yeah, so. A lot of years, I think.
Okay.
And so I'm giving Sam a lot of props for how well he rode.
Oh, sweet, okay.
But
good for Sam.
I don't think you have to worry.
Right.
Okay, so we got mountain biking.
I think not annoying you would be something where I'm doing better at this point.
Yeah, that's very true.
Haven't skied with Sam. Good chance he's better than me. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Sam's good at skiing. You're definitely a better writer than Sam, which has been every one of us has so far. So I'm helping you with this answer.
Appreciate it.
That's a 10. Yeah, we're giving you a 10 for that. Backing up a bit to some of the gear stuff, what gear are you most picky about and least picky about?
Yeah. Things that I'm most picky about on the mountain bike side are tires, brakes, and suspension. Tires first, and then I'm debating if brakes and suspension were in the right order or not. I might actually put suspension above brakes, but those three are
Okay.
the three
Most
for sure.
picky.
Most picky.
What tire would you do you most wish that you'd been riding today?
I mean, honestly, a fat bike would have been the right thing for
Well,
today, but I don't. I haven't ridden a fat bike hardly at all, so I don't have specific fat bike tire recommendations. If we're talking tires to put onto that SB130 that would
Yes.
actually fit on it, probably like a 2.5 Maxxis Shorty.
Okay.
EXOKs would be fine. Would probably have been the move. They're big, pretty spiky. Not that anything was going to really dig in and grip very well on that, but better than most. Certainly better than the Aggressor 2.3 that I had in the back, which was emphatically the wrong thing for the prevailing conditions.
I think I would go the other direction. I would have, if we did it again, I'd just put straight slicks on it and just Tokyo drift even harder through the entire ride. So, but all right. All right. What gear are you least picky about?
Seats, I don't care. Like both of my bikes have like just absolutely destroyed 10-year-old whatever the hell on them. Cranks are not particularly impactful for the most part. You may be saving some weight, and as long as they're not breaking and falling off, they all kind of work. Stems are kind of the same thing. It's just if it's working, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
And there's not too much else to it than that. I mean, stem length and fit, I do have some fussiness about, but specific model or that kind of stuff's pretty unimportant for the most part.
I'm giving you a 7.
Cool.
Top 3 favorite books, movies, and musicians.
Okay. So for start with movies, just to pick one. My taste in movies, my favorite movies tend to be kind of dark humor in large part, and so some all-time favorites, Snatch and In Bruges are two that are really up there for me.
Okay.
And then I think the movie that I laughed absolutely the hardest at that when I saw it was The Little Death, which is it's an Australian movie from, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago that's a series of sort of short scenes, mostly not that interconnected, about a bunch of people's romantic relationships. But all of the different people involved have some weird tenuous connection to each other that kind of ties together at the end. But the whole thing is just absolutely brilliantly done and hilarious look at just a very big spectrum of human sexual relationships, and it's hilarious.
The Little Death.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I find another way that I like to think about this question is like you're stranded on a desert island. There's like a TV, a DVD player, and you get one DVD.
Yeah.
What
Man.
movie? You get one movie.
I'll rule A Little Death out on that one for sure. It's amazing and hilarious, but it's probably not the kind of thing that really stands up to repeat viewing especially well. Yeah, I mean, out of the three I just said, it would be Snatch.
All right, that's your repeat. You can. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been a long time.
It's been a little bit for me too,
Okay.
but I've seen it at least a handful of times and continue to really enjoy it.
Okay. Books.
Yeah. Some all-time favorite books. East of Eden's really up there for me. Mother Night by Vonnegut is another particular favorite. I like Vonnegut a lot generally. A lot of his stuff's excellent, but Mother Night's probably my favorite. So I haven't read it in forever, but kind of a childhood favorite that I still think very fondly of is Danny, the Champion of the World by Roald Dahl. Definitely my favorite book circa like age 8 to 12 maybe, and just one that I remember really fondly.
Okay. I feel like you didn't really have these aren't near and dear to your heart. So I'm gonna dock you a little bit on the 3 favorite books. Are you actually reading these days?
Yeah.
Okay, you are.
Yes.
What's the last book you read?
The I'm currently reading The Postmortal. It's a novel by Drew Magary. It's about society discovers a cure for death and what happens from there. It's kind of a quick, pretty light read for the most part, but it's fun and pretty well done. I'm enjoying it.
A light read about the obliteration of mortality.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's actually all right. You're earning points back. I've not heard of that book,
Okay.
but I love that it's described as a light read.
Yeah, I would. And then, well, to get to music, my music taste is really all over the place. So it's not like
I'm shocked to learn this.
I know. So certainly there's not sort of one neat categorization of genre or anything that works. But some all-time favorites. Neil Young is really high up there for me. Doomtree, who are Minneapolis hip-hop group. And then all of the various members of it have done quite a bit of solo stuff too, most of which is really good. My favorite live band still, and I've seen them 4 or 5 times now, is for sure Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, who are a British metal band, kind of like retro style. Best comparison would be kind of early Black Sabbath, I think. Sleater Kinney is another one of my really all-time top favorite bands.
Okay.
So excited, it's pretty all over the place.
Okay. First of all, I'm increasingly terrified that the children are growing more and more violent and that they are coming to
We're
kill
gonna
us.
come back out of here after recording this, and there's gonna be like zombie apocalypse scene, I think.
We might just not be able to leave this room, and like we're gonna need to bar the door with all the skis. Like I don't know what's going on out there. Okay, I'm giving you a 9. You redeemed yourselves on the books. The movie thing was kind of weird, and the musician thing I thought was quite good. So you're getting a 9 for that.
Sweet.
Do you have a random review for us?
A random review. Yeah, I can do a random review. The random review I'll do is of Xi'an Noodles in Seattle. It's a like little divey hole in the wall Chinese restaurant that I discovered somewhat recently, and it's amazing. Basically, they only do one thing with very slight variance on it. It's noodles and in a sauce broth kind of thing with your choice of meat or protein on it, and that's about it. But it's cheap and amazing, and about 3 meals worth of food for like $12, and I'm all about it.
What's the name of it?
Xi'an Noodles.
Xi'an Noodles. Okay. So if I make my way out to Seattle.
Yeah, that's first stop for sure.
Okay, that's pretty good. It's always good to have a new restaurant recommendation, in a town. So I'm giving you an 8 for that. Last question, because I'm literally like nervous about what's going on. I want to wrap this thing up. What's the best question I haven't asked you?
I think I'm going to go with which pair of skis I'm stealing out of here on my way out the door. And I think it's between the Renegade 114s or the Folsom Blister Pro 104, the two that I'm kind of most curious about. And
that is a pretty good answer to that question. And yeah, those are 2 pretty good skis. So I think you're showing you got good taste in skis. And yeah, but you're not allowed to steal those. So
okay.
Okay, we're giving you a 9 for that. And let's see. If I were to just name off this is how you would earn like a really incredible score. If I just read you the numbers and then you just could automatically do the addition on this. Do you like your chances at this?
I'm willing to try.
Okay. 7, 8.5, 8, 10, 10, 3, 10, 7, 9, 8, 9.
I lost it. I have it.
Okay.
I was pretty good until about the last 3, and then it all went to shit.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm too nervous to add those up right now. So what we will do is I will, for the podcast, tally this score and the rest. For the video, we're just going to say that you did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll tally that score up for you later. So if you're dying to know, well, either do the math yourself, or you can go listen to the podcast version of this, and Yeah, and if you are currently listening to the podcast and not watching the video, you should probably go watch the video to see if you can see just how much anxiety I'm currently experiencing. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap up. We will make a call on whether we're going to try to escape Blister HQ. And then I think tomorrow we're going to go do some more riding, but not to a spot that Luke Kappa recommends.
Yeah, he's fired for that.
Yeah, he's fired. He did get some amazing photos, like truly amazing.
He did an extremely good job with the photos.
But the POW biking was not quite what we were going for today.
No, it wasn't great. And I would like to thank the two of you for picking the one of me upside down mid crash for the first image to put on the Instagram post today. That was good.
We do we do what we can around here, and so you're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, David, we've enjoyed having you at Blister and your contributions. You've survived reviewing the reviewer.
It's been a lot of fun.
You seem to be intact, and on that note, I think it might be dinner time. So
Sweet.
we'll go get some food. Cool. Talk to you guys later.